People love to act like the Ten Commandments are some kind of moral mic drop, the ultimate divine code. Don't kill, don't steal, honor your parents. Wow, groundbreaking stuff. Except, they're not unique. These rules existed in other cultures long before Moses supposedly came down from the mountain. So when you point that out, Christians immediately pivot. They say, well, see, that proves they're universal truths, which means they came from God. No. It means people figured out basic morality without needing stone tablets. It means humans realized thousands of years ago that murder and theft are bad for society. That's not divine wisdom. That's common sense. But Christians don't stop there. They say we're not under the 613 laws anymore. Jesus fulfilled the law, and that sounds profound, until you realize it's just a nice-sounding excuse to ignore everything inconvenient. So let's talk about that, because Jesus didn't say he was canceling the law. He said he came to fulfill it, and then he followed that up with a warning. Not one jot or tittle would pass from the law until all is accomplished, and anyone who relaxes even the least of the commandments will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. That doesn't sound like the law got tossed out. That sounds like Jesus doubling down. So which is it? Is the law eternal or optional? Because if you believe only the moral laws still apply, you're picking and choosing. And if you throw out the rest as ceremonial, then stop quoting Leviticus when it backs up your opinion on abortion, gay marriage, or what people do in their bedrooms. You don't get to cherry-pick divine law like a buffet. You either follow it or admit it's a historical relic. And this whole thing about morality being rooted in God's eternal character, that's nice on paper. But then explain why that eternal character once demanded the stoning of disobedient children, banned mixed fabrics, called shrimp an abomination, and ordered entire populations to be slaughtered. Was that moral? If yes, then your God is terrifying. If no, then your God's morality isn't eternal. It changed, which means it's not coming from God at all. It's coming from human culture adapting over time and trying to clean up its own mess. This is the real problem. When the Bible says something people like, it's God's truth. When it says something horrific, suddenly it's just for ancient Israel, or metaphorical. That's not divine consistency. That's theological gymnastics. You don't get to hold up the Ten Commandments as a moral foundation while ignoring everything else that came with them. If they're sacred, then so is stoning people for picking up sticks on the Sabbath. If they're not sacred, then maybe it's time to stop pretending the Bible is a timeless moral guide. The Ten Commandments aren't bad. They're just not special. They don't prove anything. And if you're using them to justify putting religion into schools or politics, then yeah, I'm going to push back. Because if your morality needs to be carved into a monument to survive, it probably wasn't very solid to begin with. Thanks for watching. See you next time.